streets turn into locked rooms, and the guy in the batsuit realizes he's not on a hunt anymore. He's trapped in somebody else's riddle box. Losing the city stings. Losing home twists the knife. Wayne Manor, that museum of grief and good furniture, turns into a bonfire courtesy of carefully placed surprises. The cave floods like the earth itself changed its mind about him, and a lifetime of gear gets baptized and buried in the same breath. Alfred drags him through smoke by the collar. The grand piano shrieks and collapses, and a portrait cracks right through the eyes like the past is watching him fail. He goes down into the grass coughing, suit scorched, plan evaporated, and the symbol on his chest suddenly feels like a dare he can't back up. Here's the rotten miracle. Stripped of the toys, he actually becomes the thing he pretended to be. He stitches armor with whatever will hold a seam, trades the sports car for a dirt bike that sounds like a lawnmower with anger issues, and maps the city by foot until his boots memorize it. Days get louder than nights because the riddles love an audience at noon, so he learns to slip in daylight hood up, bag over the shoulder, jaw hidden. Just another tired Gothamite with a secret grapnel in a thermos. He hotwires hope out of wire shelves and broken flashlights, and it's not pretty, but it's stubborn. He's not alone either, just undercover about it. Gordon reads the city's pulse like an old map he can't forget. And Lucius Fox becomes the guy who can turn a toaster into a tracking device if you give him 5 minutes and a cup of coffee. Together they form the pettiest little rebellion one signal here. One sabotage drone there, one math problem solved with chalk on a wall while bullets kick up dust. Winning isn't grand. It's incremental. It's stealing one intersection back, then a rooftop, then a safe route so a clinic can get meds. If you've ever had a week where everything you counted on went dark, you already get why this part of the story hits harder than the legend. Watching him test each brick with his fingers before he steps on it, fail, grimace, and try again. Yeah, that's the version that sticks. If you're into seeing the myth without its filter and want to keep threading this blackout with me, hit subscribe so you don't miss the tiny wins stacking into a comeback. It's less a like and more a little flashlight added to this mess. The Riddler turns the whole thing into a point of terror. Every day at the same time, the challenge drops. Solve it and a neighborhood gets water. Miss it and something explodes that used to hold people's pass in the grocery store. Batman starts playing the game like a sore loser who studies. He trots out equations on the cracked floor of an abandoned school, rigs a car battery to a radio, and realizes the trick isn't just the answers, it's the signal pattern. You don't punch a riddle, you trap it. Little by little, he gets ahead of the cadence. He predicts the next quiz, slides a jammer into the bones of the city's dead grid, and steals a broadcast slot for exactly 8 seconds. Just enough to whisper to Gotham that the dark isn't empty. Someone's moving it on their side. It doesn't fix the power, it does fix the posture. People stand up a little straighter, and the green glow on the screen stops feeling like destiny and starts feeling like a guy with a microphone who can be unplugged. So yeah, first he lost his parents, then, when he finally picked a fight with the world that killed him, he lost his house, his tech, his city, and for a minute, the story of who he thought he was. All that was left was the kid in the alley plus a toolkit and spite. That's enough, because once you strip into that, you don't have a costume anymore. You have a problem the city can weaponize back. And tomorrow, noon hits again. The quizzes roll out, and he's waiting with an answer the riddle isn't going to like. Noon lands like a gavel. The city holds its breath. Riddler's green billboards wake up, spitting out a math problem dressed like a magic trick, and everyone who still has a pencil starts sweating. He thinks he's got Gotham on a leash made of pop quizzes. Here's the snag he didn't plan for. Batman finally stops trying to beat the question and starts beating the teacher. The whole point of the riddle isn't the answer, it's the broadcast. If the question keeps going out, that means a signal, a source, a habit. Guns and grapnels can't touch that. But patterns are soft tissue. So when the puzzle hits, Batman intentionally flubs the response. Not stupidly. He gives an answer that's one hair off, the kind of near miss that goose steps right on Riddler's ego. And like clockwork, the guy can't help himself. He pops up to gloat. Close, but you missed me by this much. And in that petty little correction is an angle, a range, a breadcrumb trail. Meanwhile, Gotham plays lab assistant. Old ham radio clubs kick alive in storage closets. A science teacher drags a whiteboard onto a roof and starts scribbling triangulation like it's the end-of-year field trip. Down on the street, a kid in a yellow hoodie stacks mirror shards to bounce a laser and mark a line on a map. Batman didn't They just needed a job that wasn't wait to be rescued. You can feel the city flipping from spectator to conspirator. It's the first time his symbol works like a group project. If you've ever paused a video to solve the riddle yourself, congrats, you get it. This is a team sport. And hey, if you like being in the room when the plan clicks instead of getting the answer sheet later, hit subscribe so we can keep breaking these arcs open together as they fold. You and me versus smug puzzles? I like those odds. The net tightens. Every correction Riddler cackles out pins him a little more, until the green glow he hides behind starts to look less like mystique and more like a big X marks the nerd. The final noon ticks over. Batman takes the bike through a maze of rusted cars and overgrown sidewalks, and follows the numbers to a place that used to be safe for field trips. Now it's a jungle gym of cables and weaponized trivia. Inside, it's exactly as annoying as you'd expect. Pressure plates that ask questions before they explode, drones with blade fans and smug paint jobs, laser pointers crisscrossing the floor like a cat owner lost control. Batman goes low-tech to beat high snark. Insulated rope, a couple of coils cannibalized from a streetlight, a makeshift EMP that coughs once and turns the drones into very expensive ceiling decor. Riddler finally steps out, tailored, tidy, smug enough to zip code. He runs the victory lap speech like the city's his thesis. Batman's a footnote, and the only grade that matters is the one he's gonna write in neon across the sky. It's cute. It would be cuter if the man wasn't holding Gotham hostage with algebra. The last riddle drops. It's phrased like a door that claims it only opens if you're worthy. Batman answers, but not with the number Riddler wants. He answers with the one thing the guy never thinks is valid. You. As in, the problem here is you. He hits the broadcaster, pulls the plug on the show, and lets silence answer for once. Then the storm that's been stalking the skyline finally earns its paycheck. The city's ringed with lightning, and Batman rides it, grounding the surge through the tower, frying the safety bubble Riddler thought made him untouchable. There's a scuffle. There's always a scuffle. But it ends the way these should. With a fist, a fall, and green glasses skittering across a wet floor. Outside, lights shiver and twitch, then climb back up the bones of the city like courage returning to a face. Generators catch. Screens go black. The first cheer starts small on one block and then ripples, building to a noise that actually pulls Riddler's grin down to human size. Batman didn't just win. He turned the voice in the sky into a man with a very punchable necktie. And this is the part that matters for the origin we pretend we all know. He didn't claw his way back because his gadgets survived. Most of them didn't. He came back because the stripped-down version, the alley kid with a toolkit and spite, discovered something ugly and necessary. Gotham can be taught to cheat against its own test. You show people how to hold a mirror, how to mark a line, how to listen for the brag that gives away the den, and suddenly the bat stops being a costume and starts being a lesson plan. The city hands him back a story, but it's not the one he left with. It's leaner. No palaces, no certainty, no lullabies about fixing everything with enough money. It's a method you can pass around like a flashlight when the power's out. He'll go on to build caves and cars and a family of kids who speedrun grief into grit. But the backbone is here, on wet concrete, with sore knuckles and homework scribbles drying on rooftops. First time he lost everything, he learned the only thing he couldn't lose was the choice to go first, to eat the hit, to teach the move, and then vanish so the city can pretend it did it on its own. It's not romance. It's not clean. It's a truce between a wound and a will. And that's the origin that lasts, no matter how many mansions burn or how many quizzes hit at noon.